And welcome back. We're picking up where we left off last time in Shadow Empire. First game in the Republic DLC. From a victory point standpoint, we ended off last time 4.2 victory score away from victory. I think in Twitch channel. Well, actually, somewhere I posted those. I think we're up 5, but we're apparently a little farther along than that. As far as victory is concerned, neither of the enemies actually control that much victory score. So, there isn't really much benefit in attacking Criteria here. I may still try to do it before the game ends, but there's not much value in that. Same thing with attacking the Imperium in the west. On the other hand, we do want to continue to expand territorially, because that's probably the biggest source of value. The other thing to do is potentially, if I can get over to the human farmers over here, these are my subjects, and if I can unite with them, which I'm not going to intentionally do early, because if that's not the winning move, that doesn't benefit us very much. But if I can link up with them and unify with them, their 100,000 pop is likely to be worth quite a bit as far as victory score is concerned. It should be roughly the end of the turn. So let's go ahead and cycle the turn, unless I, after refreshing myself, what cards we have, determine that there's nothing worth playing before we run the turn. Yeah, that's probably all fine. Okay, let's cycle the turn, see what the enemy has in store for us. Mainly the non-aligned people, because we're at peace with both of the majors at the moment. One of the other things we're doing right now is improving our rail network. Once we have all the cities hooked up via rail, we'll probably start thinking about trying to hook up to sort of the battlefront via rail. Once that's done, we can probably mobilize a sufficiently additional force and finish the war, I suppose, with the theocrat blackmailers. It's around 104. We got 8 decisions here. Vehicle, okay. Back doctors. Research complete on heavy combat armor. Haven't discovered the weapons yet. I might hold off to discover the weapons before we do any improvements with the infantry. I'm going to decide what military tech I want to do. I forget which one which is which. Ammo compactation is... That's the ammo saving one. Let's do ammo compactation. You're Director of the Stream Command Council. We're going to grab the virtue increase on that choice, and I can go improve their relations for the card.
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay. Competition. And then from a type, I don't think we need any units improved at the moment.
Yes,
One-time rebate.
Yes,
Full
sir.
support to mitigate the damage there. And the Guardians offer technology. We've got the money to pick it up, so we will pick it up. Press armor optimization. Okay. I'm making a decent amount of fuel. Let's go ahead and sell fuel off. Fuel price is getting a little low, but still a decent payday. Moving the picket further east because we can take advantage of the improved logistics. And arguably we keep going east, slowly and steadily like so. Same up in the top. Want to move eastward. There's a little bit of low mountains in here. Let's go around that way with the vehicle. Let's extend these roads. We've got the industry to do that. Across the desert there. Actually, that was the wrong move to put in the mountain, but again, we have the industry. That's not a concern. Scoot up a little bit there. And these guys are coming westward, so as they get within logistics, we can ship them faster using the strategic move. Or moving eastward. Moving out of the west into the east, yes. Here we go. So that is the moving we're going to do. What about rails? Can I forward the rail connection to, say, to there? That's mostly... Unlike going out to here, which is mostly desert, the one up to the other one. Not. So rail to you. Yeah, we can do that. Whoops, actually built it too far. 1x too far is fine. And then you're the expensive dash. Yeah. Although we'll be able to afford that next turn. Maybe even be able to afford it this turn had I not accidentally gone 1 hex too far north. Over here. So over here, logistics, railhead, check. That'll probably hook that place up. And again, we can extend the roads here. Oh, I can't because it's already basically up at the front. Okay. We will be able to next turn. And then I don't think I had any ongoing construction projects besides the rail. Oh, I'm wrong. I still have the bureaucratic offices, although that's finishing up. Bureaucratic Office 5 is done. Major High Command is going to finish up next turn. So we should be expecting a little bit more bureaucracy going forward. Okay. We did piss off a leader that we'd like to be reasonably happy, so let's hit them with a official gift.
Copy that.
Put them back over 50. I'd like a little bit more than that. We'll do a bonus as well. Well, I suppose the official gift is the barrel roll. We'll go with that. Okay. Puts them up in the 70s. That's a little bit better. Okay. Let's do investor backing.
I'm on it.
And then over here, already built up the stuff. Okay, yeah, I did there. Do I need more there? No, we're good there. Looking at quality civilization, we're trying to aim for about 100% everywhere. Looks like we're doing a pretty good job of that. You're looking pretty good, and okay, you're the outlier that needs a little bit of help. Can I get colonists there? Yes. In fact, I can get all the colonists there. So if that's the case, we'll go ahead and give you the works. The works.
I'm on it. I'm on it. I'm on it.
And with the works underway, you obviously need more workers. I'll just dump them all as workers, and that should be fine. Here we go. And yeah, we're gonna be continuing to expand to west or expand to eastward. If we can get into physical contact with the farmers, I think we can do a unify card. And I wouldn't be surprised if this is enough population added in with the territory gained in getting there to give us victory. Let's cycle the turn. We've got 2 more cities to connect via rail, and then we'll worry about connecting the sort of Cold War front via rail. Once that's connected, I'll probably move in, well, deploy and move in artillery and tank units for the final war. If we haven't won by the time we find that happens. We get attacked, our units hold firm, taking no casualties. We killed 10 tanks over the end turn. It's around 105. We got 6 decisions. More metal discovered. Medium aircraft discovered. Okay, because of all the construction projects, this turn we went metal negative. That probably won't be the case on the next turn. For no other reason than we have multiple projects finishing. Major High Command Palace is done, the Railhead's done. All those projects should, the University Barracks Hospital, VidCom should all finish next turn. Okay. Although we might still be metal negative on the next turn. You want me hire a candidate? Sure. Law vote. Usually, unless I really don't want the law and can actually do something about it, I just lean back here. This is another example of I can't stop it. So they want to enact the wealth tax. On the initiative of the Equality Party, the Parliament is holding a vote whether to enact the wealth tax. We want to avoid leaders hoarding all the credits. This tax will ensure that the wealth will be redistributed. Law effect. Any leaders with wealth suffer -1 relation per turn. So this is sort of bad from a keeping the leaders happy standpoint. Their wealth is taxed at 3%, which costs 7% of the remaining BP, or a minimum cost of 63. Now, I could stop this if I did maximum forbid, but we'll just let it happen. I don't want to pay 80 political power. More importantly, I don't want to pay the 9 word to stop it.
Acknowledged. Confirming orders.
All Design Council. We just discovered medium planes. Do I want fighter bombers developed? No, I'll hold off on fighter bombers. That's usually what I stick on the medium airframe is the fighter bombers equipment. Minor worker strike.
Affirmative.
We're democracy. Protests. We're democracy. Zone upgrade. Sure.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so there's our decisions. We did the top half. Yeah. Oh, except for these guys wandering over. And then strategic move. Get you there. You might be the only one that's able to go. Oh, no, we got a little bit more with the militia. And then we have the bottom right here. Go, slowly advancing forward. I've got the initiative. We will extend the sealed roads here to support continuing to go forward. Yeah, we'll fork here. Fork here. Get up to the base of the mountain. It's not going to be like pushing into the mountain with the roads, but going out and around. Or, well, going up to the base of the mountain lets us take some of the mountains. And then when we finish going around, we can take the rest of the mountain from the other side pretty easily. Take the passionate speech.
Copy that.
It doesn't provide enough virtue to recover anything, but we tried. Cabinet retreat.
Copy that.
A couple of war games
Copy
for
that.
more approval increase.
Copy that.
Oh, GR coding. Genius method to layer base material to increase the hardness of tipped projectiles. So this is a bonus for heart attack for all future units.
Acknowledged. Confirming
Take
orders.
that. Yep, I think things are going reasonably well. Yep, let's cycle the turn again. Continue to advance time and advance our fronts. It can be a little bit slow while expanding through empty territory because there's not really anything to claim besides empty territory in the empty territory. Round 106, we suffer no losses, nor many kills, we have 1 decision. Okay, they declared on us again. That was earlier than I would have liked, but I can work with that. Well, if we can get the city to surrender, the fight's over. So we'll have our refreshed troops and their support. We got basically 4 brigades gonna go and carry out this attack with 4 units of armored buggies.
Attack formation.
Yeah. They started a war that's basically caused them to lose the game.
Mission accomplished.
So many empty units they've regenerated that they haven't actually put units in. Yeah, that's... It wasn't maybe the best choice for the AI in that situation. Okay, but that we'll see if they can counterattack and take the position back. If they can't, they are out of supply, and we'll just crush them slowly. New org, don't need the new org.
Acknowledged. Confirming orders.
That whole plan on how we're going to deal with this pocket here, with rails to bring in artillery and stuff. And do we need that? No, that would have apparently been overkill. We get our rail connection into there. In theory, I probably should have paid to get the replacements for the units, but that can wait. Just about crossing the desert and hitting the mountains here on the far side. Ministry. That'll be where we stop for the moment. With expanding those roads, at least. Oh, I've also at the end of the action points in the north there. So our ability to expand is waiting on me to improve action points. Yeah, we're getting down fairly low. We're up in the 140s. Oops. To zone border from the other side of the border. So that I'm adding, not subtracting. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So there I should be taking no penalties. I'm going to put a supply base there to give us a little bit more range temporarily.
Affirmative.
And then we'll also upgrade the truck station here. Again, I would if I could. Okay, would if I could. But the supply base will temporarily give us a little bit more range. I may have to just put another colony in here somewhere. Although this place isn't producing anything, so I could just extend the zone and just put in the truck station down and be fine. Okay. Strategic move. Deploy. Strategic move. Deploy. Strategic move. No. No, and no more. Okay. So that's the northeast. And we just did the south. Okay, we spent all the industry in the south. Fair enough. Because I started with the south because the whole, war attracted my attention first. Could do a little more industry, so let's go ahead and cash in our improvised IP cards.
Order acknowledged. Order acknowledged. Order acknowledged.
Okay, should give us a decent inflow of IP. Same sort of logic. Could do with more money, so we'll do private investment, get some
Order acknowledged.
money in the private economy.
Order acknowledged.
Because we get a small amount of that as taxes when they spend it. And then I refuse most of my political power, so it's time to end the turn. Victory-wise, we're up to... Well, at the beginning of this turn, we were at 47%. We just took Tartaria's population center. So we should be getting 2.4 of their 2.6 points next turn. So some small potential we win on the next turn here, making this a very short stream of Shadow Empire. Okay, we took damage and dealt damage. That's not a bad exchange. Around 107. Killed 300 infantry, lost 200. 10 guns, 10 motorized. We have 10 decisions awaiting us. So lots of decisions. We've gained a new zone. Developed a flak gun. New automated factory. Pacifist scientists. Interesting. Basically lose mind to gain fate. Okay, 10 decisions. Yep, we can spend some money to get more XP. New advisor. Do you really have to be picking someone who already has a job? We'll come back to that one. I know we have unemployed people. I'd rather be one of the unemployed people.
Copy that.
But it's apparently someone looking for a promotion. Okay. Flak gun. We'll go for the full flak gun with new heavy combat armor. Zone decisions. Well, we're democracy, so we do the democracy options.
Yes, sir.
I'm on it.
And then when it comes to the danger events, if you've got the political power, always take the better of the two options. Yeah. We'll take enforcement. I don't like it, but we'll do it. New governor. So we got 2 reserve pool members. We got a Camp 1 who's terrible and a Camp 1 who's terrible. We have a resettlement policy. Yeah, we'll let them enrich
Copy
us. Okay, so I gotta decide how I want to deal with the advisor and the governor. Let's first try to roll some better governors. So I got access to Merc and military and junior. Grab a junior.
Copy that.
Cap 1 junior. Pretty terrible. Roll another
Copy
junior.
that.
Cap 1 junior. Pretty terrible. Military.
Copy that.
Cap 2. A little bit better. Still not really
Copy
what I
that.
want. Cap 2. A little bit better. Not really what I want. The Merc's just going to be too expensive. Okay, so the best I'm going to get is a Cap 2 in that position. Did either of those Cap 2 people jump into the pool? Yes. So it's probably going to be you.
Yes, sir.
None of them jumped into your pool. So you're a mayor. Yeah, you're governor. Probably better off backfilling one of the military units if I just have to take someone. Although these are both pretty good military commanders. Yeah, that's okay. We're just gonna give up one of the military commanders.
Understood.
There we go. Okay, so they did not counterattack, so it's time for us to attack. Just to crush the pocket.
Move out. Mission successful.
Crush that protrusion there.
See you on the other side. Okie dokie.
And obviously, we can take the road junction up here. That would be great.
Let's go. All clear, sir.
Oh, those guys are already exhausted from an earlier fight. Fair enough.
Let's go.
Good job.
At this point, their whole position's basically going to collapse because they're not getting any more supplies at this point.
Open fire. Open fire. Mission accomplished.
We don't have to get the whole pocket to collapse at this point. Maybe not, maybe yes. Hard to tell. I think we're going to be a little overstacked for this final attack here, but worst case scenario, even if we don't succeed, we just attack on the next turn.
Let's go. Operation successful.
Okay, and that is the end of enemy resistance in the area. We'll go make the zone a little bit bigger so I can control the assets that are actually reasonably attached to the zone. We'll even go a little bit so far as to give this a proper road connection. Here we go. Oh, and over here we need more industry before we can do anything, really. Do much more, at least. A little bit more, maybe. Let's look up north. Can I get this sort of pocketed guy destroyed? 11v1 says probably yes. Yes becomes a yes. Or probably yes becomes an actual yes. And yeah, we're running out of supplies on the front here. Do need that. Well, we got the supply base. We'll see if the supply base is enough on the next turn. As it built this turn, it's not going to fly until next turn. Should have built this turn. It was delayed because I didn't have enough metal. We're going to wait 2 more turns. Okay. And yeah, with them destroyed, it probably still considers them at war with these guys for at least a turn. If I were to guess. Yeah. Oh, well, no. That's proposed piece of prediction. Yeah. They're technically at war with someone. It'll probably update with them not being at war with them now that they don't exist next turn. So that was Tartaria we just defeated this turn. And our victory score does show 50. So this is probably the last turn here. The game will probably tell us next turn that we have won. I assume it's actually rounding up to 50 here, because otherwise we would have won. Because this is the VP at the beginning of the turn. We didn't get the 1 screen, so this is probably like 49.9... 49.999, something like that. It's not quite 50. Now that we've shaken over the rest of the territory and we expanded a little bit on the other fronts, it probably is actually over 50 now. It probably will tell us we've won. Okay, not much to do up over here. Because obviously, if that's the last green hex is the road, building another road tile isn't going to really help. In fact, I'll build 1 more road tile, because 1 road tile might make a difference, but probably won't. And we don't have much political power, so we're going to cycle the turn, and we're going to see if we win. If we have one, we'll go over a lot of the stats and sort of do a review of the run, and then we'll swap games. This actually ended a lot faster than I was expecting. Apparently I'm taking over... Well, this is a small map. Small to normal map. So the territory is probably worth more than I'm expecting. It's probably what's happening. Expecting 4.8% victory score to go slower if we were relying purely on taking over territory. And yeah, there we go. We won the game. We have 10 decisions. Roaming thieves, abductions. So there's 2 of the 10 decisions. Hostage crisis, that's probably a decision. That's probably not a decision, though it might be. Economic Council, discovered a tech. Probably not a decision. That's a decision, so that's another decision. Wow, that's what we're going to pick. That's what we'd pick if we were actually going to make that decision. Authorization of a oob, so that's another decision. Picking that's replacement. And then we've won the game. Your strength is now so big, the others do not stand a chance anymore. You have won the game. There's maybe a debate that had happened a while ago, but getting the official confirmation that victory has achieved, yeah. We're at 50.4, so we're over 10. Or over the 50 securely at this point, so we've won the game. And then, yeah. With that, we destroyed all of their stuff. Decision-wise, yeah. Military Research Council set the OOB authorization. So both of those are sort of what we could predict from the VidCom. Sabotage, we probably could predict... Actually, Sabotage we might not have been able to predict. I don't know what that was in there. And then we've got the Protest. Protest wasn't in there. Roaming Thieves was in there. Abduction was in there. Hostage Crisis was in there. Increase in petty crime. Okay, so the Virtue one was a event. That's this one. That was a decision. Zone orders for the new zone. And then they appoint the commander for the commander that we got told of reassignment, basically. Okay. And then I suppose we could check. Now that we've defeated that major, are you considered at war anymore? No. Okay, this would be a hard roll to do, but we could now start to try to negotiate offer protectorships with these two. And that one actually would be pretty easy. So yeah, even if we hadn't won, we were about to be negotiating with this person for unification, negotiating with this person for unification once we get next to them. That's a hard roll, but that's doable. It's gonna fail most likely, but that's doable. We can get plus 40 from the Shattered Diplomat, and that takes us up to 177. So it's a 7% chance to succeed on that roll. So yeah, we're at the point where we can start doing diplomacy to get a lot of victory points. I think these guys are a lot of victory points. Oh, so maybe still a hex up there of theirs. Doesn't really matter. Yeah, 50.4. Laws and overview. These are the laws we had at the end of... We had universal medical care. We had social assistance, private economy stimulation law, wealth tax, which came about because we had a low virtue. So if your virtue is not below 80, they can't try to pass this. Clean elections law. Again, another one that they can do if your virtue is too low. I suppose in this case, this is because your virtue is low enough, they think you need it. Right, if you've got really high virtue, they wouldn't propose this because they don't think you would need it. Festivities law. Public Brotherhood law. Sacrifice compensation law. Public-private partnership law. So these are what we had currently enacted. And amongst the possible laws, I think they're at the end here. In another run, I would be tempted to do sort of a militia-centric run, where we run laws like militia funding law that has the militancy reduction of high civilization score. You run this, and is it the forces? Let me go. So you run these two, and you get no militancy from, or militancy loss from high civilization score, and combo that with, there's another militia one in here. Texture law, yeah. And now you can basically try to run like pure militia. Run all the militia. Do I have militancy in some of my zones? Yeah. There you go. So it's increasing by 5 due to high loyalty, but it's decreasing due to morality score. Apparently we have a high morality score. But apparently that's a new thing that also reduces it. Good to know for the future. But this is also, I believe, reduced by civilization score. In fact, that's probably why we can't even see it in our major cities. Our major cities have 100 civilization score. So those are laws that we'd probably, in future runs, if we were to run a militia-centric run, want to pass. And we might intentionally try to get those passed. Did they change up the profile feeds? No, it looks like the profile feeds are all the same. So if you then combo that with in Fist here, you can get militia spawning in. And then also in politics, this might make an interesting sort of fist-driven democracy run in the future. We've got permanent militancy here. militancy levels no longer impacted by the ratio of militia forces versus regular forces. So that, plus it's not being affected by civilization. If you're sort of running that score, you might intentionally not be moral so that you can have low morality, so you can keep the militancy up. Combat with militia ready to serve, which allows you to turn militia forces into regular troops, means you could probably run a very militia-centric game where you try to do nothing but militia, which I find interesting. Probably not meta, just something interesting that I've put together. Looking at some of the stuff, at least that you can get into in democracy. We didn't end up going syndicate democracy. Cameras everywhere plus security. Extra repair points. Triples the repair speed, okay. Developed unhealthy obsession with robotics as well as machinery. Tech research speed, okay. Research is about connecting the pieces. Data retrieval does all research techs 32% faster. Interesting. Teacher bots. We cannot have a teacher for every student, but a bot that we can do. 100% education. Range for truck, train, and maglev logistics. Ooh, that's really powerful. That would require you having to stay syndicate democracy for a while, though. On the same note, obviously I haven't taken the time to look through all these to figure out if there's anyone that any but the sort of democracy related ones that we'd be trying to go for in future runs. But yeah. When I'm done streaming tonight, it might be early tomorrow, I'll try to put up a poll on Reddit as to what we should be aiming for in the next run. I'm going to do a bigger planet, which gives us a little bit more time to get into things like syndicate democracy, oligarchy, or no, syndicate democracy, aristocracy, or fanatical autocracy. Those three we have a little bit more time to get into a longer game. But yeah, I'm going to put up a poll. I think the three choices are going to be... these are the three I can think of right now. I might add a fourth or a fifth. In fact, I think it probably will be four. Do we do an autocracy game? See how autocracy goes. Do we do a merit game? See how a merit game goes. Basically, see, can we stay... And maybe I'll put in one of the options will be, do we try to stay meritocracy or do we try to go aristocracy? Or aristocracy. So that's three choices. Fourth one is, do we try to go for syndicate democracy? And then a fifth one is, do I try to run a militia-centric spoiled democracy run where we try to get down into permanent militancy and militia ready to serve and just throw militia at the problem and try to play with basically no army. Well, I say no army, but try to play with the militia being the way we get our army. Because once we get to this with militia ready to serve, we can turn militia forces into regular forces, which... Assuming that works the way I think it does, takes them. If I pop over to the map, I need to see a city that I got some militancy in. Add one. You can see in here we have militia maximum size. If you turn a militia unit into a regular unit, it shouldn't count against the militia maximum size. So effectively, by drafting the militia into the army, being able to get the militia to make more units free. So sort of have this ragtag sort of paramilitary army by running militia ready to serve and permanent military, I think would be an interesting way to try to play. And apparently there's a couple different profile regime feats in here that might also help with that. So whether we get up in here, because these don't seem to go away when you change type. So if we got to militia ready to serve, permanent militancy, and then transition to say autocracy for a paramilitary for extra militancy or something like that, would be interesting. But sort of a very fist-centric run. But I think that's what we're going to put up for Paul. Again, this first run was mostly me trying to get used to the new virtue stuff and having some experience interacting with it, so I know what would be reasonable to put up for Paul, right? And in this one, trying to stay sort of keep the virtue high democracy, and you can see how all that went. That didn't go very well. Although it was kind of going well, and then the game went like, no, you're keeping your virtue too high. Here's a terrible event. F you. I don't know if that's probably not. It's a random event, so it probably doesn't happen reliably. Although if you keep your virtue high enough long enough, I suppose it happens. And I think the more expensive ones sort of push you towards autocracy, meritocracy, but doesn't drop your virtue as much. So I went for the one that keeps us democracy, which of course dumped us into spoiled democracy, which there was probably ways around choosing that choice differently. So let's take a look at the stats. Where are the stats? There's the stats. Of course, the tab label stats. Let's see if I can read today. So as far as all total troops, we can see we are, in fact, these guys. So our value goes up and basically never declines. And yeah, we can see we're from pretty much like round 5. We're always the biggest faction. At some point, I think I decided that I needed more troops, and I turned recruiting up, and then I turned it down later on. So I think in the early couple turns, I think I decided I needed more stuff. Oh no, that was probably a little bit further along. That's probably what this jump is. In here, I probably realized I needed more stuff, so I turned recruiting up so I could recruit up faster. But yeah. Can I see when we're at war with Teferia? Yeah, so Teferia never really lost troop quantity. Up until the end, obviously, where we crashed their pocket. They were always recruiting. And that was even with them not guarding their borders properly. Right, to give you an idea of how well the AI is at recruiting. Now, we outnumbered them, and that's part of the reason we were slapping them multiple ways to Tuesday. But, and they were definitely as we experienced near the end of the first war, we needed to outnumber them. Once they finally got their stuff together, got organized, they were slapping us around, and with no tech advantage, with basically tech parity. So their equivalent quality troops were better than ours. Now, probably that had to do with the fact that I am, when it comes to leaders, not picky. The AI in its simulation picks average leaders. Ours were a little below average, so probably the model designer was not doing very good on those roles. So our models were probably a little weaker. That's probably where that was coming from. Casualties sustained. Good to see that we weren't taking the most casualties. So this is the people we were fighting. This is the one major that we actually destroyed. And you can see the jump at the end where they're finally crushed. And you can see the flat area in there where we had them sort of balled up where they weren't taking any casualties. Right, so that's their casualties. This is our casualties. You can see, again, flat area where we have them at peace. And most of our casualties, I think, are occurring... This was around about the period when we were deciding that we need to negotiate peace with them. Because they finally got their stuff together, were organized around their city, and were driving us back. And that probably means this segment in here is probably us fighting them. So we're fighting them. We've reduced them down to just the capital. This is them sort of doing the breakout, getting their sort of defensive zone around the capital, the peace, and then obviously, even during that final war, we didn't really take very many casualties. So the advantage of having numbers to suppress our own casualties, right? We're able to take good fights most of the time. The exception, of course, being, and even when we were doing that breakout, they were taking casualties, right? They were organized enough to take casualties. I suppose actually that was probably the war. That segment in there is probably the whole war. Don't remember how many turns that was exactly. That might have been the whole war. But yeah, definitely they're able to inflict casualties. We just had the numbers to pick good fights most of the time. And then the Imperium, and I think the Imperium had rebels. Yeah, the Imperium had rebels, so we can see the Imperium's rebels, casualties. And in fact, I suppose we can see the Imperium's rebels. So the rebels got up to about 30,000. The Imperium at the end had less troops than their own rebellion. So we can see why they weren't doing very well. We were able to negotiate with peace in them, so we were basically just able to ignore them. Political points up and down all around. Our political pulse. So this is our political party. So we were armed forces most of the early game until that translated into the syndicate armed forces. This is the party that wanted to become syndicate. Martial League, I think it was the first party B. This is probably party 3, probably party 4, and that's probably party 5, I've already guessed. So at the end, I think we had 5 parties, but outside of the syndicate and the Equality Party, no, the Armor Front. Outside the Armor Front and the Equality Party, most of the other parties were pretty weak. Although for a while there, we had Justice Superior Knights being quite powerful from a politics standpoint. Zone populace. So this is just our zone populace. So you can see when we got every one of our cities. So capital wasn't the biggest city. Varnes basically was our second city and was our biggest city, and that's with us heavily recruiting from it too, which is actually somewhat surprising. Flag Slope. Rodrez. Eventually, was Rodrez? Which cities are which on the map? Emmett. Emmett was our first colony, and apparently, yeah. So Rodrez must have been one of the ones we took. Fair enough. Well, that's why it's a big jump. So it was the one of the major ones took out the enemy capital. Moray was another one of the Moraire was one of the ones we took off of someone. And then you can see none of the colonies particularly grew very much, but they were there for other reasons than just raw population. Private salary apparently never got too out of hand. That's good to see. Although this is not split off by zones, so probably some of the zones were more expensive than others. Comparative manpower. We out-manpowered everything. And you can sort of see the... Oh, this is deployed manpower. This is not... Oh no, this is people in the country, I think. It's not what when I think of manpower, I think of troop number. It's not what this is. Tech level. So we were behind. In Shadow Empire, because of how the AI plays with all its orgs, regardless of what settings you put it on. So the AI runs off to an early tech lead. Not super surprising. What is a little bit surprising here, and I hadn't necessarily realized it occurred, was that we'd overcome the early period of being behind in technology and getting ahead of them. I thought we were ahead in certain specific techs, not generally ahead of them, which is what we were. If you know what you're doing, you know what you're focusing, you can get ahead of the AI with getting to like critical techs. But often you're not generically ahead of them. Although they were struggling, so we probably had a bigger bureaucracy than them just because we had more cities. We had like 3 real cities, and they each had 1. Admin is actually how much bureaucracy you have. So you can see we had more bureaucracy, not surprising. Civilization. We were running commerce. Commerce is pretty good for improving the quality of life in your zones. So this is not surprising. The AI probably wasn't running commerce. The theocratic group wasn't running commerce, for example. So their sort of ineffable game that they play by wasn't really geared to making civilization score. Victory score, slow, concerted, upward grind. But you can see when we take cities, big jump from a city take, big jump from a city take, big jump from a city take, big jump from a city take. And yeah, that 49 there, I think the 50 we saw on the last turn was actually like 49.999, something like that. That was getting rounded up to 50. It wasn't exactly 50. Now it's over 50. Comparative virtue score. So apparently this is tracked for the majors when you're playing with Republica DLC, where we did a reasonably good job, or did a better job than the AI a little bit, keeping it high to start with. And then we had a decline because we were winning. Winning makes your virtue score goes down. And then the red group gets up high. I'm not sure why theirs is high. I'm not sure which government type they were running offhand. They were doing a pretty good job of maintaining it until stuff was going wrong. And then that's perfectly reasonable to have it come down when stuff goes wrong. And again, we decline, we get it down, and then I start doing stuff to raise it. And then we had that really bad event that just tanked it. And again, we're still winning, so there's, it takes affirmative action to get it up when you're winning. So getting it back up to the 80s, 90s was not going to be viable at that point. Troop quality. So you can see that my troop quality, the troop army is growing bigger, but the troop quality isn't necessarily getting better. Although you're seeing some seasoned militia at the end. That's the seasoned militia, right? Yeah. So some of the militia is hanging around long enough it can actually get to be seasoned. That's the regulars growing. So you can see the regulars steadily growing. You can see the green troops steadily growing. Although near the end, again, they're hanging around long enough they're actually going to be able to get up to regular, which is where the regulars are getting up. And overall, the army was generally increasing in size. Not a lot of seasoned, whether militia or... Oh, the militia was more likely to be seasoned than my professional troops. My professional troops, apparently, I was getting busy with. Yeah, and then basically no veterans because we were spending them before they were turned into veterans. Average experience, average morale. Doing a reasonably good job to keep hunger under control. And then, obviously, militia percentage was declining. This is one of the things where I think it would be interesting to try to do a run that's mainly militia-centric, especially with the new laws. Without the new laws, the militia was definitely in a state where once you got past a certain point, it was unable to maintain them. With the new laws, especially militia ready to serve, permanent militancy, and so these couple of regime feats and a couple of laws, I think it's going to be a lot more plausible to do basically a militia-centric run. And then casualties. We can see all the turns where the casualties were high. And yeah, these peaks around here are why I decided it was okay. No, we need to negotiate peace. Probably by the time we got peace, we actually had the situation in control. Probably could have kept stayed at war, but we declared peace at that point. And then kills. We can see the last turn we had them encircled, and it was just cleaning up the pocket. So I think that's the game stats. Look at the regime stats. So and there's really only two we care about here. We got the Imperium. So this is the other surviving major. And it's about 40... Oh, no. Oh, actually, yeah. Only about 40,000 people to the name, so they're really small. They're the size of Emmett, one of the colonies. Like, that's... The AI screwed up this game, let's just say. The AI screwed up this game. It's on them, not on me. I'm not the best of showing on my play score, but the AI didn't put up much resistance. That's probably one of the reasons why we won so quickly near the end here as well. And then here we can come and see our economy. So 850-ish thousand population, almost 200,000 workers, and we still have about 70,000 more free folk to attract to the cities. So we could still get a little bit bigger there without having to go to more extreme measures like slavers and stuff. And this is our military, mostly infantry-centric, besides the militia. So I'm not gonna linger on this too much. Just scroll through it slowly in case you want to see particular things. Tech details. This is a terrible way to look at tech details. This makes sense if you're trying to look at the other guy's tech details. But if you're going to look at your own, you just go to the tech page. This is where we got to. Techs we were kind of looking to get to just sort of pop off and run off into the sunset. High-tech industry. High-tech parts allow you to build some of the later industry components. More importantly, metal soil filtration, serpentization. I'm trying to think about the other one. So metal soil filtration is metal that you can get anywhere. Rare metals that you can get anywhere. Regardless of your map. Well, often you can run into situations where the metal is nowhere near your cities, right? So metal soil filtration is just, it's good. Because it's a reliable source of metal, or rare metal. One or the other, usually, for your map. High-tech industry enables that by providing you the high-tech parts. Cybernization is power, same sort of logic, or volcanic energy power options that are enabled to high-tech industry. Fuel's a little less important, although once you've got high-tech industry, instead of having to do the whole run around on the biofuels, we can do synthetic fuel or deep core mining. This is the third one I'm thinking of. There's a couple of different ways to get fuel. So if you need fuel, fuel's easy to get. And then fuel enables you to do more motorized and more mechanized stuff, which we were, even with just the biofuel, we were on the cusp of doing anyway. So yeah, the big last enabling tech we're missing was high tech. For sort of late mid-game troops was the last sort of kinetic weapon, which is the charge cows here. And then after that, our next infantry upgrades would have been battle dress, heavy battle dress, which there's heavy battle dress, there's battle dress. So we would have had to go for Walker hydraulics. Walker hydraulics is probably around here somewhere, over here. Yeah. But yeah, things were going well. Maybe if things had gone on a little bit longer, and this is often why I don't use air forces in Shadow Empire. Often the front lines aren't static enough. Right, so we took over some of the airfields. Had this pocket not just collapsed from us declaring on them, I may have gotten some aircraft here, especially to combo with artillery. So use aircraft to recon where you're going to hit the artillery, so that your artillery gets good accuracy. Is usually a good way to use it. And yeah, expanding across the map. The big thing this map had is just not a lot of people. It was the people were very centralized. Which resulted in just big swaths of territory where I was having to colonize cities to put in our truck stations so we could afford to continue expanding in that direction. But yeah, this is where this part's going to come to a close. So I hope you've enjoyed the run. If you want to see more Shadow Empire, again, I'm going to go put a poll up at the end of the stream for what we should do for the next run. And we'll probably start the next run in 9 days. So that should give enough time for the poll to pass. Usually I try to do 7-day polls, but because I'm just going to put this back in the same time slot, it's going to be a multiple of 3 out, so it's going to be 3 times 3 is 9, so it's going to be 9 days out. That gives me enough time for a 7+ day poll. So yeah, if you want to see more of this and you're watching this on YouTube, honestly, if you're watching this on YouTube, the next part has probably been recorded. So you can probably sneak over to Twitch and watch the next part. But future me, that's based on future me actually doing things according to plan. If you're watching this on Twitch, if everything goes according to plan, we will be playing this again in 9 days, based off the result of that poll. So if you want to participate in the decision-choosing process, feel free to hop over to the Shadow Empire Reddit community. I'll try to put a poll up there after the stream. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and do the YouTube outro here. Just a reminder, this was streamed live to Twitch under the username WillCole. And if you're watching on YouTube or watching later, that will have been the local recording from that live stream that I have compressed and uploaded to YouTube. It should be in 1080p and 60 frames per second on YouTube. I'm currently in the process of recording ahead, so next month I'll be out 1 week to help with some moving and a different week to go to a wedding. So I'm recording ahead to hopefully have content for one, if not both of those periods when I'll be out. As a side effect, there'll be a bit of a delay before this comes out live on YouTube, which is why if you're watching this on YouTube, the next run of this may have just been recorded. That's around about when I think where we are with getting recorded ahead. So with that, I'm going to wish you all the best of luck and a good time until the next part and or stream, and bye for now.